Why doesn't God give us more proof that he exists? Right? I won't believe in God until he appears right before me. We hear this kind of talk all the time. Well, maybe there's proof. Sometimes there's things that you could find, man, even on eBay. It's Jesus in the toast. They'll be making pilgrimages to the kitchen. I make pilgrimages to the kitchen, but it's to usually get dessert. That's a different story. Is that really proof? No, of course not. I wouldn't accept that as proof. But again, why do they demand proof? Jesus, as a matter of fact, said it's a wicked and adulterous generation that seeks after a sign, and there'll be no sign given to it but this, right? So the first thing that I ask back, again, in this is, well, what kind of proof would be convincing to you? What would God have to do in order to convince you that he exists? The universe is here, right? I mean, crud, if you walk along the road and you see a watch on the ground, you don't say, I need proof of a watchmaker. If you see a painting on the wall, you don't ask for proof of a painter. The fact that the thing is there is enough proof. But that's not good enough. So what could constitute as proof? And usually it's something fantastic. God needs to appear before me in flames of fire, or write his name across the sky, or something ridiculous like that. My response would be, well, why do you think that that would convince you? And they go, what do you mean? I said, why do you really, I mean, if you're not open to subtler evidences, why do you think that that would convince you? Think about it. God appears to you gloriously. And then what happens? Maybe God comes to a parent in need whose child has just passed away, and they pray and they raise the dead child back to life. There's a miracle for you. What about that? And then what happens? The parents call all of their friends in the atheist club and say, you'll never guess what happened. Out of a last-ditch effort, we prayed and our child was brought back to life. And the atheist club members are going to say, well, it was just probably a coincidence. It wasn't truly God. You know, it's, you guys are just overwhelmed by the emotion of it all. Even the big signs, like the flaming letters. You go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and you go, did that really happen? Kind of feels like a dream now. Maybe God should do it again. Show me it a second time, then I'll really know. But then your friends are like, well, no, I think you've been to Colorado one too many times hitting this stuff. You know, I think you've got to lay off of that because you're crazy now. You're just seeing things, right? He didn't appear to me with a flaming letter, so I guess God has to do it to him and keep doing it. See, the level of the burden of proof is not reasonable. This is not how we prove things. And that's what we've seen. And I mentioned this before in John chapter 12, when the Pharisees are planning to kill Jesus because he threw all the money changers out of the temple and all that stuff. They get together and they say, okay, we've got this plot, we're going to kill Jesus, but we better kill that Lazarus guy too, because guess what? He's walking around after being dead for 4 days, and people are turning to Jesus because of him. Now, these are the Pharisees saw this stuff with their own eyes. And their response wasn't, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall on my face. Here's the proof I need. Their response was, we better kill the Lazarus guy who was risen from the dead because he's too much of a liability for us. Hey guys, guess what? That whole dying thing with Lazarus, it didn't stick with him. Why do you think your version is going to make sense? But this is the way people are. Their hearts are so hardened that they don't want to admit it, so they'll make up any excuse. So flaming letters across the sky would be probably waved off as a David Copperfield magic illusion or Skywriter's trick or something like that. We've had miracles. This is the thing. We have eyewitness testimony. There was a hand that appeared and wrote the names of, in the book of Daniel, many, tekel upharsin, right? And did that make the Babylonians convert right away? No. They shook in their boots, but they didn't become believers. When Jesus rose from the dead, we have first-hand accounts by his eyewitnesses that he did that. Did that make anybody believe? Well, some believe, but those that will refuse that eyewitness testimony, why would they accept your eyewitness testimony of your miracle? It doesn't make sense. The proof of Christ, the proof of God, is truly in the design of the world, just like it's in the design of the watch or the design of the painting. Now, I'm not going to go deep into that tonight because next week I'm going to cover it more completely. But know that the fact that we are here, the fact that the universe is exquisitely fine-tuned for intelligent life to a degree. Let me see, what is the last estimate they said? They said, imagine if you were on one end of the universe and you had a bow and arrow and you were told to hit a single atom on the other end of the universe. That's the level of the odds of these things falling together, these different parameters of the universe falling together just by chance. So, there is proof. How much proof would you need? Would it take? And I sometimes ask people, would you really believe? Would you really believe? Okay, so you'll believe if there's flaming letters across the sky. What else? What less? Do you ever use that criteria for anything else in life? I mean, you know, if someone tells you you've won $1 million, okay, you may not believe it. Come on, you're pulling my leg. But what would be the criteria? Or if someone tells you you're bankrupt, you may ask to see the bank records, but you don't ask to go into the bank and count your money in the vault yourself. You know, it's a level of criteria that is beyond reasonable. They're not being reasonable in this.